Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here on Friday, February 7th, a beautiful day in Duval County. The Walter Payton Man of the Year resides here in Jacksonville. Eric Armstead, you've got a coaching staff coming together, a GM search that is hot and heavy, and a brand new 2-round mock draft from ESPN. So we've got 2 Jaguars picks here in this 2-round mock draft from Matt Miller, who is predicting and projecting what he expects to happen in the draft. This is not based off of his personal evaluation, based off what he would do, but based on what he thinks will happen in the 2025 NFL draft. The Jaguars have the 5th overall pick. They also have pick number 36. Yes, pick number 36. So we're excited to get into this, talk about this one here today. Mock draft season is always a lot of fun. It's exciting to see all the different potential pairings that you could have and potential that you could have within the draft, and kind of get into the mind of what some of the top draft analysts around the web and around the world think. So we're going to dive into this. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I am wearing right now. So at number 5, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Will Johnson, cornerback, Michigan. So Abdul Carter comes off the board to Tennessee. Hate to see that. That is very scary. Travis Hunter goes to the Browns at 2. Cam Ward to the Giants at 3. Mason Graham to the Patriots at 4. The Jaguars take Will Johnson, the cornerback, at 5. So this is what Matt Miller has to say. While new coach Liam Cohen has an offensive background and might want to beef up the offensive line and add another pass catcher, Jacksonville has to find some defensive playmakers. It forced an NFL worst 9 turnovers in 2024, making Johnson, who had 2 pick sixes this past season, the right selection here. He could line up opposite Tyson Campbell. Scouts are all over the board with Johnson, though. Some think he's a lock as a top 5 pick. Others are worried about his missed tackles, his questionable speed, and the foot injury that limited him to 6 games this past season. He needs to run well at the combine, but I think he will, and then solidify his stock in the top 10. Yeah, so I think everything he says here is fair. The Jaguars absolutely need more turnover production in 2025. They need another cornerback opposite Tyson Campbell. You'll have Jarian Jones in the slot. You have Tyson Campbell outside, adding Will Johnson, who, and it is key, he needs to run well at the combine. Now, to me, it's less about running well at the combine and just seeing him kind of in the field work. If I see him in the field work and he looks healthy and he looks athletic the way I expect him to do, he is a blue chip prospect for me. Part of the blue chip process is going to be athletic testing. I mean, that's part of it for me. He is a blue chip prospect on tape, in my opinion. He's a blue chip prospect from a size profile, and it looks like athletically, but it would be really nice to see him perform throughout the pre-draft process, right? Coming off of that foot injury that it did limit him. And I think, though, this guy is as prototypical as they come from an instinct standpoint in coverage, size, looks like to me athleticism. I'm not sure why those question marks are really coming up, but we'll find out exactly what's going to happen with Will Johnson throughout the rest of this draft process. But the way I kind of look at this, I like the pick. I would not at all be mad about the pick, but this is not the direction I would probably like to go. I personally would be looking at signing a corner. I think that Will Johnson's a great player. Again, I think he's going to be a blue chip prospect for me. But when I think about team building, I think about supporting Trevor Lawrence, I would go sign a vet corner. You can use vets right now in that secondary, right? Like, you need guys that know how to execute the task at hand, that understand how NFL offenses are going to try to attack them. As good as Will Johnson is, and I think he is very, very good, there's a chance that there's a learning curve. For most guys, there is. So why not go get a veteran? I mean, there's guys like, and I'm not saying the veteran is going to be of the caliber as Will Johnson, but you have opportunities here to get more high-value positions, and high-value positions that actually help your quarterback, building a core around Trevor Lawrence long-term. I think that should be the goal. And what I'm saying is, go get, whether it's whoever you value the most. Charvarius Ward. You've got Carlton Davis from Detroit. You've got DJ Reed. You've got Paulson Adebo. You've got some guys that are set to hit free agency, and I think all those guys will hit free agency, at least 3 of the 4. So that's the direction I would go. I would go get a vet, right, who's been there and done that, and solidify the cornerback room that way. And then I would also draft a corner. I think this is a fairly deep class. You can go get a corner who you feel good about a little bit later on, potentially. And I would be going probably, Tedero McMillan. Probably him or Luther Burden, quite frankly. That's what I'd be looking at here. Getting Trevor Lawrence a second outside wide receiver to pair up with Brian Thomas Jr. to create a real super-powered offense. I think that's the path. That's the play. And I think, honestly, as poor as the Jaguars were forcing turnovers last year, you got to have the pass rush up front to help these corners be able to get their hands on the football more often, right? And so, and also corner is an extremely volatile position year to year. So that's not the direction I would go at 5. I do love Will Johnson, though, and I'd be happy to see him in Jacksonville. It's just not what I would do. You talk about Tedero McMillan, Luther Burden. Those are the guys I would really be looking at. And I'll say it, too. I think Will Campbell, if you're going to take a corner, why not look at Will Campbell to play guard for you? Honestly. Support Trevor Lawrence. I think that Will Campbell is right there from a prospect standpoint as an offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman with Will Johnson. So that's how I'm viewing that one. And then you go down to pick number 36 for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they take Donovan Jackson, guard, Ohio State. So this is what Matt Miller has to say. The impending free agency of 33-year-old Brandon Sheriff opens the door for the Jaguars to pick Jackson, who proved he's capable of playing tackle and guard during Ohio State's national championship run. Yeah, so Donovan Jackson, I do have him in this range. I would not be mad about this pick either. It is not the pick I would make, right? Donovan Jackson, what he did having to go play left tackle after Josh Simmons got hurt, and it was a struggle early on. And very quickly, he got introduced to one of the most lethal pass rushers you're ever going to see in Abdul Carter. But he hung in there, and he stuck it out, and he played really, really well for Ohio State down the stretch at left tackle. He's got really good feet on an island, good feet to mirror movements. I almost think he looked more comfortable at tackle down the stretch than he does at guard, which is interesting, right? Obviously, you're not drafting somebody at 36 to play tackle for you when you just signed Walker Little and you've got Anton Harrison on your rookie deal. So he is going to be a guard for the Jaguars if they select him, right? At least for the next few years. There's no question. I like his hip mobility as a guard a lot, like his ability to get out in space and to pull. I like his length, his athleticism. I think he's strong enough. I think sometimes, though, as a guard, you could improve the core strength. I think there's also just moments where his base isn't great, and the base isn't as important for him out on an island because he's moving around. He's using his athleticism. Whereas in a tight quarters situation, you really have to have your base and your hands locked in and on time together to be able to sustain against some of these massive interior defensive linemen. I think that's where you see some struggles with him. I think some timing stuff too with his hand placement. It all happens like that on the interior. Whereas at tackle, unless you're quick setting, jump setting, you have some time to really use your athleticism to win. And I'm not talking about a lot of time, especially with guys like Abdul Carter and company rushing the passer. But he honestly, his best tape was at the end of his college career playing left tackle, which is unbelievable. Like, that's great for him. For the Jaguars, there's a couple guards I would value higher than him. I would value Gray Zabel higher than him, who, Gray Zabel did not play the same level of competition. Absolutely, that's fair. But I think Zabel can play guard or center. Like, I think if you wanted to go into this year And I think the Jaguars should sign a guard in free agency. I've been on record saying that many times. I think they really should. But if you wanted to draft Gray Zabel, if you didn't draft a guard and you feel like guard's a need, so you're going to go in the second round, if you wanted to draft Gray Zabel to play right guard and then double dip at the position and get Mitch Morris's long-term replacement at center or get another guard, I could see that working out because Gray Zabel can play center for you too. Gray Zabel could be your center of the future. You could get another guard, or you could wait till next year, get another guard. There's a lot of different ways you could play it out. I would take Gray Zabel, his versatility, and I think he's just a better football player than Donovan Jackson. Look, Jackson is bigger. He's going to have longer arms, higher level of competition, but I think Gray Zabel, his footwork is unbelievable on the interior, and his grip strength is certainly much better than Donovan Jackson's, in my opinion. His ability to just lock onto you and you're not going anywhere. That's how I view it. And look, I would not knock the Jaguars for taking Donovan Jackson. I think that he would upgrade their offensive line. We're just talking about what I would do in these situations a little bit. And honestly, again, I would go get a big-time guard in free agency. You've got a lot of guys potentially available. You've got potentially Trey Smith, Tevin Jenkins, Mekhi Becton, Will Fries. There's dudes out there, right? So I would go get myself a guard. I wouldn't be entering the draft feeling like guard has to be taken in the second round. And that would put me in a position where I feel like I could take Gray Zabel if I want to because of the value I have on him. I could also take somebody like Darius Alexander, who is an absolute stud. I could also take like a third edge if I wanted to. I could also take, name your position. I'm trying to go into the draft without a lot of needs. And I know right now Matt Miller's trying to project based on needs a lot. That's just kind of how it goes. Also, Matt Miller has Malachi Starks, the Georgia safety, falling to 34. If I'm sitting there and it's the beginning of day 2, I'm trading up to 33. If he's on the board, I'm trading up to 33 and I'm taking him. Bottom line with that one. So that's kind of my thoughts on this Matt Miller mock draft. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Hope y'all have a wonderful and safe weekend. Have a good one, Duval.